Good morning, wise soul. I'm Patience McGrane. Welcome to Patience in the Morning, where I walk widows through grief in a world that keeps moving. If your spouse, domestic partner, significant other, or co-parent has died, I am so deeply sorry, and I am honored to sit here with you in this space. So however you arrived here, whether your loss was sudden or traumatic or unfolded gradually due to illness, injury, disease, or even a significant breakup, your presence here tells me that you are carrying a heavy burden. You might be parenting through grief and loss. Maybe you're holding your own heartbreak while supporting your children's or teens. Living after the loss of a loved one requires extra energy and newfound strength, and it is even more exhausting than most people can imagine. Today, we're going to talk about something that might help you make sense of what's happening inside of you. We're briefly discussing what traumatic grief does to your brain and your body. Because if you've been feeling foggy, reactive, disconnected, anxious, or even just like a completely new person, whether your person died 6 months ago or 10 years ago, you're not imagining it. There is a lot happening on the inside, and this is like biologically things change, psychologically, physiologically we change, our nervous system shifts, and this all occurs after a loved one dies. And something that research shows is that within the 21st hours after the death of a loved one, our heart rate increases. So understanding what is happening can help you have a little more self-compassion and patience with yourself and with those that you depend upon. Before we get started, I invite you to breathe with me. I wanted to share my favorite breath, which is bumblebee breath. Well, I guess it's one of my favorites. This breath practice helps your body shift from the active fight or flight, kind of that increased heart rate, to the rest and digest. It's a slower heart rate. So some people like to cover their eyes up gently or their ears, and it's very gently just to kind of cover the sound. Children really like this breath, by the way. It's fun. There's different ways you can do it. So you'll choose what is kind and safe for you, what you feel comfortable doing. And so I'll invite you into breathing by bringing your hand over your heart. And then the other one rests on top of that. And if it's comfortable, you can close your eyes. Otherwise, keep them open. Remember, choose what's safe for you. And now we'll begin. So you breathe in deeply through the nose, filling the belly, and then exhale out the nose by making the sound of humming. Take a deep inhale through the nose again. And hum it out. Let's repeat. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. So as we move into this episode, remember that you are grieving in a woman's body in a world that doesn't always know how to slow down and show up fully for grief. So anytime you need, please pause and just breathe and maybe explore the bumblebee breath on your own throughout this talk. So now let's walk together. So what makes grief traumatic anyway? Not all grief is traumatic. If there is trauma, though, there is always going to be some grief. So if there is a traumatic part of your story, there is grief. This means you'll want to care for the trauma and the grief. So we do both areas of work, such as when my youngest brother died. He died from homicide. The trauma hijacked my entire system, like every bit of me just got hijacked. So the grieving process, even though I was showing up for some grieving workshops and attempting to do the grieving work, it was really stunted, and I was doing it, but it was very numbed out, unable to fully connect with my love for my brother. So the trauma overwhelmed my body so much that I thought I was going to die at moments when all was well. So it just was happening constantly where I was afraid and terrified. So instead of processing my loss from a sibling, I was literally trying to stay alive and stay safe, even though I was living in a safe space. So this went on for a few years until I began receiving some professional care for the trauma. I could never fully grieve. I could never fully reconnect with the love that I had for my brother. So even when I showed up for grief work, I was numb, distracted. I first had to care for the trauma before I could fully embrace my grief and reestablish a loving connection with my brother. This is why some people don't grieve the loss of a loved one until many years later, because we can only grieve what we have the ability or knowledge to at any one point. This is also one reason why children often grieve longer and adults can't tell that their children are necessarily grieving because the child is developing and their system can only process what it is capable of and in alignment with their developmental growth and like what skills they have. So trauma often demands attention first because your body doesn't feel safe, and we actually do need to have some sense of safety to actively grieve, to go through the grieving process. Now, there's still grief, of course, it's there. There's a big loss and we feel it. The trauma is also, if it's there, it's hijacking and getting in your way of fully embracing your grief and moving into a more loving reconnection with the person who's died. And it's normal. Your body's wanting to protect you and to keep you safe. And since things are off, it's kind of doing things that are counterintuitive to keeping you safe, right? So if you're wondering what traumatic grief is, it happens when the loss overwhelms your nervous system. That's the simple way. Your nervous system can't cope. So not all loss does this to us. It is basically what's happening inside of you, to your mind, body, and heart during the loss. And typically the loss that's just way too much for you, way too much for the system. And so there's a lot of miswiring, and just like shutting down, disconnect happening internally. And then it's trying to, yeah, reestablish, rebuild things. So this can happen. Let's see some examples when this can happen. So this can happen when the death was anticipated. Just because you know the death was coming doesn't mean it isn't traumatic for your nervous system. Or your brain. The death was sudden or unexpected, yes. When you witnessed suffering or were present during the death, there were medical emergencies or events that kept you up and down, sort of thing, and in a state of fear. So you didn't get closure or a chance to say goodbye, or your sense of safety in the world was shattered. And here's something important. Even if your loss doesn't look traumatic to others, a lot of times people don't think that it is. Sometimes you might not think that it is, but your body decides what is overwhelming. It's I'd like to say it's kind of out of your control, because sometimes you might even feel really calm as something tragic happened, but then later on you recognize you're having a lot of flashbacks or behaviors that are surfacing. So your nervous system just decides whether something feels like too much to you. So if your body feels dysregulated, if your mind keeps replaying what happened, there's a lot of what ifs, ruminating, you feel unsafe, on edge, and even when all is externally well, like life, you can look in knowledge and say everything's okay, but this is still happening to you. It's your body communicating to you that what happened overwhelmed you. So take it serious. Let's try to listen. Have some self-compassion for yourself. Things do overwhelm us. So let's pause and breathe here. We can do that bumblebee breath. So breathing in and exhale. So let's talk about your brain. There are three main areas that we'll talk about that are deeply impacted by traumatic grief: the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. Now, don't worry. There are other areas that are impacted too, but we're just going to keep this really simple. So the amygdala is your brain's alarm system, and it processes intense emotions like fear and anger. It is responsible for emotional processing, such as when there's threats and our fear. Emotional tagging happens here. It labels and files memories linked to joy and fear. It makes decisions based on whether it's dangerous or not. And when highly stressed, it can override logical thinking. So think the back, lower part of your brain in the back, and then this is the higher functioning part. So we've got upper and lower. And when that lower part, the amygdala, gets stressed out or it gets the alarm system going on, this part of your brain can lose its ability to make logical decisions. So after traumatic loss, your amygdala becomes overactive. It begins to constantly scan for danger. So it's at a very high level looking around, trying to sense. This is why like loud noises that never bothered you before now feel overwhelming. Whereas, you were curious about sounds or something that happened, but now you're getting startled. Like when someone walks into the room or the phone rings or just somebody knocks on the door. You might feel like something bad is about to happen, even when all is well. So you can be somewhere safe and still be scanning. So your brain is working hard to protect you and is always scanning for more danger. Then there's the hippocampus. This is where memories are formed and transferred to the long-term storage. The hippocampus are responsible for connecting those emotions to the memories, which trauma disrupts how those memories are stored. So instead of feeling like something in the past, your loss can feel like it's happening now because it's not getting stored right. So that's why sometimes you might have intrusive images and thoughts, and you start to feel in your body it's really happening. So you replay these moments over and over, and you start to feel upset, and you're like reliving it, but it's not happening. So certain smells, sounds, dates, they can disrupt your behavior and your feelings. Your brain hasn't fully processed things yet, and it hasn't fully understood and made sense out of what happened and then been able to put it where it properly belongs. So when we have, so that's happening. So no, the prefrontal cortex, this is the part of your brain that helps you think clearly, makes decisions, and regulates your emotions. Grief especially um, can make the prefrontal cortex go offline a bit. And so when you add the traumatic grief to it, it really goes offline, and it can go offline for longer periods because, again, that trauma has really overwhelmed you. So this is why you might be struggling with things like focus for um, just trying to pay attention to things and making simple decisions, remembering information such as the names of people you know, keys, bill payments, important dates, or even just dates, things you need to do. I remember prior to my significant other dying, remembering everyone's name. It's like I had all these yoga classes and I could remember all the students' names. I remember where my classes were and their times. I volunteered in the schools and remembered all these parents' names and these children's names and the teachers' names. And then I had my full-time job and I remembered everyone's name there. Well, after his death, I couldn't remember names of even the people that I interacted with. Um, regularly, right? And they would be very common. And it was very startling because I just couldn't remember. And then, of course, there were other things, such as dates, places maybe I needed to be, things I needed to do. I would completely space it out. So after his death, I barely remembered people. I felt actually really embarrassed about this. And it felt like my brain was, well, failing me. It was very embarrassing. I just couldn't even remember. Some of the most embarrassing things is I couldn't remember my yoga sequences. So I'd be teaching a class, and in the middle of it, my brain would just everything would just go offline. And I'd almost be thinking like, where am I? I don't even know what's like I'm teaching. I don't know the music cues. I don't know the sequence. And I'd have to quickly try to scramble and come back online to complete my class. And it would really scare me. So you might feel like you're losing it, but you're not losing it. Your brain is working overtime. Eventually, it will come back online and things will start to smooth out. It does take some time, so be patient with yourself. So, grief, let's talk about in the body. It's not just mental and emotional, it's both physical. Your nervous systems, your body's internal safety system, well, that gets disrupted, obviously, right? So it can move between different states. So it can move between the fight or flight, where you might feel anxious, restless, irritable, or just so unable to relax. This is a reactive and active state. Then there's the freeze or shutdown state, where you might feel numb, disconnected, exhausted, or like you just can't move forward. This is where it's more of an unmotivated feeling, where you want to lie in bed or zone out a lot. You can't speak up or engage as much in social situations, or just feel empty. You may swing between both. This is not dysfunction. This is your body trying to survive something that feels unsurvivable. You might also notice sometimes tightness in your chest, like a lump in your throat, digestive issues, fatigue that just doesn't seem to get fixed with sleep. So you may have a sense of heaviness in your body. Your body carries grief. And the word grief comes from the Latin word meaning heavy or oppressive. So grief is heavy and it feels oppressive and it feels really unbearable. Your body is holding something incredibly heavy and, well, unbearable. So it's not just your thoughts, it's your body, your mind, your heart trying hard to restore itself. Except it can't be restored to its original state. You will never be the same. It has to remove, repair, replace, and upgrade. So this requires unconscious decision making during a highly stressful time that now you need to restore and rebuild. But you're also offline, right? So your body's working, no joke, serious overdrive, overtime. So again, be patient with yourself, have compassion. This is normal. Yes. And taking care of your trauma and taking care of the grief when you're able to, right? These are the things that will help you in this bumblebee breath that we practiced today. So let's talk about parenting while grieving, because your nervous system isn't just responding to your loss, it's also responding to your children's loss and their grief. Children and teens don't necessarily feel and look like your grief or like how you're feeling or what happening to you. However, they too at some point will feel and reveal things such as anger, withdrawal, sadness, shock, risk taking, and just silence. They'll even act fine and look happy and, times feel happy. And this can be incredibly confusing because you're trying to stay afloat and also be their anchor. When your co-anchor is gone, you're trying to be the anchor for everybody. So parenting grieving children with love does not require you to be perfectly regulated or just perfect. Your presence and undivided attention matter more than perfection. What helps children most is not having a parent who never struggles or cries. It's having a parent who is honest, who understands what's appropriate for the child's age, a parent that is safe and emotionally available in small, consistent daily ways. Even saying, I'm having a hard time, I'm having a difficult moment, and I'm here with you, and I can take care of your needs in, 30 minutes or in an hour. You just have to make sure you follow through. Showing up honestly and communicating with your child is really, really important. So this builds safety in your child. It helps them continue to trust you and just feel like things will be okay. So a gentle reminder about how that overwhelm, especially like we're parenting, we're overwhelmed and our anchor's gone. And we may then also start to feel how like much we missed having that co-parent. And so we may start to gravitate or entertain in our thoughts and just our desires, and this is normal, to actually have somebody else there. So that falls a little bit in that space of potential grief rebound, because you're in a state of grief. You're dealing with losses, and most importantly, your co-regulator's gone. And so what might be nice, our body is going to gravitate in hopes to find that familiar feeling that your spouse offered you. So your boyfriend, your fiance, whoever it was, what they brought to you, you'll start to look for that. So this can be kind of confusing and sometimes shame-filled, and there's nothing to feel ashamed about. It's just a natural thing that happens, and grief rebound has its pros and cons. After traumatic loss, your nervous system is really desperate for regulation, connection, and safety. Just remember, you need care too. So it's often searching, for somebody to help you feel at ease the way that your spouse did. So it can be very easily found in another person. Sometimes it feels even better than your significant other that died, right? And some ways it shows up as a sudden relationship that you weren't looking for. Maybe you are looking, and it can be this intense attachment and this feeling of comfort, of pleasure that you've just never felt before. It's this feeling that I call like this magical kind of love. So it just leaves you feeling amazing. It helps you feel supported, and it can also, like I said, be a little confusing. So often what's happening underneath is your body's just seeking relief from the pain, and we can confuse the relief for actual love and something real. And so, yeah, when your loved one dies, there's loneliness, there's dysregulation, there's a lot of imbalances that naturally occur. This doesn't make you wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. It all just makes you human. So just keep in mind though that the intensity is not always the same as safety. Attachment is not always the same as love. And slowing down and pausing to notice and identify what you are feeling and what you really need each day, in moments that you really start to notice something, can be incredibly helpful and supportive to you. You deserve connection. You deserve a connection that is safe, stable, trustworthy, and grounded. And that can start with pausing and checking in to see what do you need, and coming back to that breath, which we're going to get back to. So as we close, and if it's safe to do so, I invite you to close your eyes and bring both palms to your heart, with one palm resting on top of the other. And I invite you to bring your awareness to your heart. Maybe notice if you can even feel your heartbeat. I invite you to think of who you miss today and say their name out loud. Kobe. Now, if you like, let's return to the bumblebee breath. I invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose. And on the exhale, making a gentle humming sound with your mouth as the breath moves out the nostrils. Take a deep inhale through your nose and hum out the mouth as you breathe out the nose. Inhale, filling up the belly. Exhale. Inhale, breathing in. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Breathing in. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. I invite you to continue that breath at your own pace, in your own way, for as long as you like. Just remember as you're breathing that your loved one matters, your grief matters, and you matter. We learn the bumblebee breath, which helps your body shift from the fight or flight state where anxiety lives into a relaxed rest and digest state where calm lives. This breath offers instant stress relief, lowers blood pressure, slows your heart rate, and can help you sleep better. And children really like this breath. So bumblebee breath is not about fixing your grief. It's about creating a little more calm inside your body so you can rest just a little more. And as we close, remembering you're not broken. If your brain feels different, it is different. Grief changes it. If your body feels unpredictable, remember that something sad and painful happened. If you don't recognize yourself right now, it is the normal response to loss. Remember, something life-altering has happened to you and your family. Your system is adapting. If you have children, their system is adapting. And healing and grief does not mean going back to who you were. It means slowly restoring and remodeling your system and life so you can learn how to continue in this new reality, the one you didn't plan for. So it's at your pace and in your way. So if you're parenting through all of this alone, if you're holding your children while you're holding your own grief, remember the small moments and acts of kindness make a huge difference. Your gentle presence matters. Remember compassion over perfection. You are allowed to take care of yourself, especially your nervous system, not just theirs. So thank you for trusting me today with your grief, for being here with me. And if this felt supportive, you're always welcome in this space and to share with another griever. And I'll see you in the next episode.